All right, what's up, guys? This is Ryan from Elevate Security. Now, in one of my recent videos, I had a question about OSCP and what languages do you need to know in order to pass OSCP. Now, I know I kind of touched on that in one of the previous videos, but I'd like to give you my take on it. And to do that, I'm going to go all the way back to the Trickster days. That is correct. All the way back here to 2018 when I created this account. And then also show you one of my more recent GitHub accounts. And by no means are these all the scripts that I wrote on here, wrote in my lifetime, but these are just some of the ones that can really showcase, because I was going to make this as a walk and talk video, but I decided it would be better to really show you hands-on how I use scripting in order to automate things and make things easier for me, in hopes that maybe it will sort of get you guys thinking on how you could use scripting to improve and pass the OSCP, or maybe improve at your job, or whatever you want to use it for, really, because the sky is the limit with these languages. You can literally do anything. I mean, people are still learning what you can do. New things are being created all the time, right? Now, I will say that when it comes to what language should you learn for OSCP, it doesn't really matter. Like, in the grand scheme of things, any language will work, like literally anything. Now, with that being said, like, languages, you kind of view them as tools, right? Like, can you hammer a nail with a wrench, or with a, can you hammer a nail with pliers? Yeah, of course you can, but the hammer is going to be better, right? And so it really depends on what you're trying to do. Now, with OSCP, what we want to do, what we care about most, we don't really care about full functioning programs used by thousands of people. That we want it to be as fast and like streamlined as possible, and be able to handle concurrent sessions and multi-threading. Like, a lot of times we don't really care about that, right? We just need something quick and dirty, something we can write up quickly to get the job done, to move on, because at the end of the day, we want to save time, and that's what scripting is used for on the OSCP, especially the exam when you have 24 hours. You want to use these languages to free up yourself from having to do these things manually, so that you have more time to enumerate, to further look into stuff, to exploit stuff, right? Because that's where you want to be spending the majority of your time. So with that being said, in general, I'm definitely going to say it's up to you what languages you learn, but in general, I would say you want one like operating system level scripting language. This could be Bash, this could be PowerShell, anything like that. One of those two, basically, or both of them, right? More power to you. Or since OSCP, it was older boxes before, they didn't all have PowerShell. I'll just give you full disclaimer. So knowing a little bit of Windows command line stuff, maybe if you can write batch scripts, I don't really know how to do that, really. I mean, I could learn it if I want, but it's kind of outdated now. VB script, kind of outdated now. But yeah, you could do that. Now that they updated the OSCP, though, I think you might be able to use more PowerShell on stuff, I would think. But yeah, so Bash or PowerShell. But then you also want one scripting programming language. So that's what I'm going to recommend. Now, you don't have to follow my rule. You can learn C, you can learn C++, you can learn Java, you can learn all those other ones. But I would recommend a scripting, like a sort of scripting based, like an interpreted language, right? Not a compiled language. So like Python, that's an interpreted language. You can write things quick and dirty in there. The syntax is really easy. It'll give you the best bang for your buck as far as how much you're going to be able to do with the language versus how little time it's going to take for you to invest into that to be able to do stuff. So Python is my personal preference by far, and if you look at the industry trends, like, so many people are using Python at an absolutely astronomical rate, really, and especially in the security space. So you may as well use Python because everyone else is using it. It's really easy to Google for stuff whenever you might have any issues. That's another really hidden benefit of it. But your other options are like Ruby, Perl, Those languages are both similar, right? Perl being pretty old language at this point, and Ruby being one that's been losing support over the years. So I would definitely recommend Python. Of course, you can also do Golang and some of the compiled languages, like I said, but if I had to give you my recommendations, that'd be it. I know I've been talking for about 5 minutes on this topic, so let's move forward here. The first thing I want to show you is the tools installer. This is like the first program that I uploaded to GitHub, I'm pretty sure. But man, it's so simple but so useful. Basically, it's just a bash script where literally I put every single tool that I wanted to download that didn't come pre-packaged with Kali Linux or any other distribution that I might have been using at the time. And what this allowed me to do was easily keep track of all the third-party programs I wanted to use. And anytime I found myself on a new system, maybe I was at work and I got a new VM that I was going to be working on. Maybe I was at home in my own environment and I spun up a new Kali box. Certainly when I started Oscp and they gave me that new Kali box, the first thing I did was go to my GitHub, pull this down, and run this script, and it automatically installed every single tool that I needed. If ever I decided, I don't use like DNS Recon anymore, I can just take it out of this script, push the code to my GitHub, and now I'm good, right? Or if I wanted to add anything in, I could do that and push the code, and yeah, just like that. So this was extremely useful. I wouldn't have to manually download each one of these and think, okay, did I install Aquatone or did I not yet? Did I install MassDNS or, whatever, right? So it was like fire this one script off, install everything, and I'm good to go. This is just one way that you can use Bash to automate stuff. It's great. So, another one here, shellcode byte counter. This one was extremely useful to me in the OSCP. So what this one does is, first of all, I'll say there's a lot of times in the OSCP where you'll be modifying exploits. A huge part of it is being able to do that. And basically with that, you'll have a POC. You will have confirmed that there is like code execution on whatever service you find running, and you'll find an exploit for that with searchsploit. It'll be a manual exploit, right? And in the POC, the shellcode will just be to like spawn calculator or something. But of course, as an attacker, we want to get a shell, right? So we're gonna see how many bytes are there, and we want to replace it where we might have limited number of bytes to fit our payload in. So when we generate our payload with MSF Venom, we want to make sure that it is the appropriate size, right? So we'll go on that exploit with spawn calculator. We'll copy all of the shellcode into a file and call it shellcode.txt. And we run this, we run this on that file like so. And what it does is it's going to remove all of the quotation marks and all of the backslashes, replacing them with new lines. So if we go back here, right? If you're not familiar with this /x, that denotes hexadecimal. In hexadecimal, it goes up to the letter F being the highest number, 1 being the lowest number. So this /xbe, that's 1 byte. And, also this is another byte, right? So if we did this manually, we'd have to say 1, 2, 3, 4, and we'd have to go all the way to the end. That would take forever. We don't want to have to do that, obviously. So that's why I use Bash to automate this process. So with this script, it's going to place each byte on a new line. That's how I had it coded. And essentially, once it does that, we are able to look at the word count of each line, or the line count, rather, using the word count command line utility. So it'll tell us how many lines are in the file, and each line is a byte. So it'll count that, and we'll know how many bytes are in our payload. So that is extremely useful for taking away all the manual headache involved with that. So now I'll go to my newer scripts, and only 2 of these are really useful for this video, but this one here, port browser, was one that was actually pretty useful, and it was a Python script. So this one is, nice and robust using the Python language here. And basically what it does is takes the output of an Nmap file. So you run your Nmap scan, you save it as a file, it'll take all the open ports from that, and it'll actually throw it in, it'll feed it into Eyewitness, which if you're not familiar, that's a Python script you can get from GitHub, and it takes screenshots of, it goes to the URL and the port or whatever, and it takes a screenshot of it. So I feed in all the open ports into this program, and it takes screenshots of everything, so I can just go to the folder, and at a glance I can see which ones are web servers and which ones are not. And the reason that that's useful is there's a lot of times where web servers will be running on non-standard ports. So just because you get your Nmap scan back, you'll see these ports, you won't really necessarily expect that it's a web server, and maybe it wasn't able to grab information that would lean you to thinking that. This is where this can come in handy, right? Because maybe there's like 60 ports open that take forever to browse to all of them, right? You can automate that and then look at a glance and see which ones are web servers and then further enumerate from there. So that's how I automated that process. Now, the last one that I'll mention is this rapid deploy here. And the reason I'm going to mention this is because it is by far the most complex Python. Well, it's the most complex security-related Python program that I've ever written. And I didn't use this for OSCP because what this does, but it's good for like red teaming and security in general. So it's basically leveraging the DigitalOcean API, which basically that's like an Amazon Web Services, if you're not familiar with DigitalOcean, where you can spin up VMs and stuff like that. And what this program does is it's using the API to allow you to spin up your own virtual machines from the command line, and you can even give it templates, right? So say you have a template with all your tools installed. I run the tools installer, got all my tools installed. Now I'm going to save that as a template, and then I can rapidly deploy a bunch of VMs, spin up a bunch of VMs that have that template, have those tools installed. So this was like a multi-file project that I created, and I could even make snapshots and get snapshots and all of that. And so this really like helped grow my skill as a Python scripter, Python coder by writing this. So definitely challenge yourself with some more complex projects, because let me also say that this was like so much fun to work on. I literally had so much fun working on this and definitely learned a ton. So I definitely recommend these kind of stretch projects like that. Even if you're looking at some of this stuff and it seems like, ridiculous, like you wouldn't know like how to write something like this. The reality is that you learn as you go, right? I didn't know everything about this and what I was exactly doing when I first started, but the way I learned was, on an as-needed basis, right? And that's how I was able to, over time, build up my skills with coding. It wasn't like an overnight thing, but I certainly think this stuff is pretty cool and exciting, and if you give it a shot, maybe you'll think the same. But yeah, this is just showing you really hands-on how I'm using this stuff. So I hope that this was of value to you, and really with my two recommendations, Python, Bash, you're good to go for OSCP. Don't like make your life overly complex, really. Just learn those two, and you'll be good to go. You'll be just fine. Really, instead of focusing on learning a bunch of languages, focus on learning these two languages, but very, very well. That's going to give you a way better return on investment than if you try to learn like 5 languages, but you're only okay at all of them, right? So yeah, that's pretty much all I had for this video. Let me know if there's any questions or comments down in the section below, and I will see you in the next video.